Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Today we'll discuss on verse number 43. Aruneneva bodhena Purvam santamase rite Tata avir bhavedatma Swayam evam shumaniva Aruneneva bodhena Purvam santamase rite Tata avir bhavet atma Swayam evam shumaniva. Arunena. Arunaha is akaranta, masculine gender, like Ramaha. Arunaha, Aranu. Arunau, Arunaha. Ramaha, Ramo, Ramaha. Ramam, Ramo, Ramaha. Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramaihi. Arunena, Arunabhyam, Arunebhyah. Third case or instrumental case. Arunena, by the Lord of the early dawn. Eva, like Bodhena, by the knowledge. Purvam Santamase, the universal darkness that existed before. Hrite, when dispelled. Tataha, then. Avir bhavet, rises. Avirbhav, you know. Avirbhav, everything is coming from the Bhu Dhatu. So here Avirbhav arises, Avirbhavet, Atma, the self, Swayam Eva, of its own accord, Anshuman, the sun, Eva, like, just as the sun rises when soon after the Lord of the early dawn or Aruna has dispelled the thick darkness that existed before, so too the self manifests on its own accord once the right knowledge has dispelled ignorance. Now come to the prose order. Arunena iva bodhena purvam santamasi rite tataha Atma Angshuman iva Swayam eva avirbhavet. Once again I am telling. Arunena iva bodhena purvam santamasi rite tataha atma angshuman iva swayameva avirbhavet. So what is the process in the morning? It is not true that 4 o'clock or 4:30 directly sun arises. First, Usha comes. So it dispels the thick darkness. We tell that, oh, 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 the light has come, light has come. The first light comes. Then after some time, sun rises. So very, very important Advaita Vedantic process theory has been discussed in this verse. So first light comes and dispels the thick darkness. Likewise, I am Brahman. With that light, my ignorance gets dispelled. Then it is there tataha angshuman iva atma swayameva avirbhavet. Means tadanantaram, tataha means tadanantaram, like the sun, atma expresses, rises. If we don't understand this sloka, then sense of duality will come and misconception will be generated. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has told the same concept in 5th chapter, 16th sloka, Jnanena tu tadajnanam, Jnanena tu tad ajnanam, yesham nashitam atmanaha, tesham adityavad jnanam prakashayati tatparam. 16th sloka, 5th chapter. Jnane natu tadajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavad jnanam prakashayati tatparam. The one who realized who is he has dispelled, destroyed the ignorance within. How it comes? Adityavad jnanam prakashayati tatparam. Like the sun dispels the darkness. Two sorts of thing destroys over here. First, avaranam. Two things are there. If we notice, first, dispelling of darkness, then rising the sun. Have you noticed? So, dispelling of darkness, so what does it mean? That in my mind, there is a viparita bhavana, contradictory thinking, that there is no Brahman. Because what Shruti says about the Brahman, about the Jagat, that contradicts my transactional knowledge. So, first, that knowledge I own up, by which the covering in me, the covering of ignorance, that there is no Brahman, that ignorance gets removed. Then the second thing is rising the sun. Then we understand that yes, there may be Brahman, but it doesn't express in me. Brahman is a far off thing. I believe in Brahman, I love Brahman, but I miss Brahman because it doesn't expresses in me. That sort of ignorance also gets dispelled. We will discuss little more. Get ready. When sun rises, means there is no sunrise means sun is there. We experience as it there is sunrises. Bodhena santamase. When tamas is taken away by bodha. Here, bodha means knowledge, but in the form of thought. Please note it. It's a very, very important thing I'm discussing today. Maybe our great, great acharyas have told you earlier, but I don't know whether you have paid attention or not. Please pay attention. Bodhena, bodh means knowledge. But here, knowledge in the form of thought, vritti. Santamas means very thick darkness, and it goes away by bodha. But how? So before sun rises, there is a redness first, then orange. This is called Aruda. See how Purana discuss all the scientific things in its own mythological way. According to Purana, that sun comes riding in a chariot. The sun comes riding in a chariot. And they, in that chariot, 7 horses are there. Sun has 7 colors. See how our sages knew everything. 7 colors they knew. That is why they wrote that sun comes riding through a chariot, and that chariot has 7 horses. And that chariot's driver's name is Aruna. Here some Amma is taking the class whose driver's name is also Arun. So Arun is the driver of the sun god. So whom we see first? We see first Arun. In this way, first ignorance get destroyed. Then Atma gets revealed like the sun. Clear the concept. First ignorance gets destroyed, then Atma reveals. Jnani knows himself as Brahman. I know Brahman. That thought also eliminated in case of a realized soul. From the transactional standpoint, from the ignorant standpoint, he is a Brahmajnani. He is a knower of Brahman. But from the standpoint of that realized soul, he is not a Brahmajnani or knower of Brahman. He is Brahman. Because Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. Means the knower of Brahman understands he is Brahman, not knower of Brahman. The knower of any object makes me the knower of that object. But knower of Brahman makes me Brahman. How? What is the process? When the sun about to rise, then darkness slowly goes away. And then when afterwards the sun rises, it is self-effulgent. Nobody is needed to tell me that sun has risen up, or not other source of light is required to see the rising sun. In this sloka, in this verse, Aruna is bodha, or knowledge in the form of thought, and the sun is Atma. In previous slok, it has been discussed that when darkness is removed, then Atma Swaprakashman Bhavati. Now the question is, can Antahkarana or inner instrument know Atma? In Upanishad, it is told, through mind, you can't know Atma. In another place, in another Upanishad, is stating that through mind only you can know him or know Atma. So why that seemingly contradiction in the mantras, where the rishis or sages confused, but Upanishads should not be contradicted. If we discuss those Upanishads, we will find the context was different. If I want to know a pot, a thought of pot occurs. This is called Ghatakara Vritti. The thought in the shape of the pot or ghat. In Antahkarana, Chidabhasa, Chit Abhasa, the reflected consciousness, is expressed. So, in Antahkarana, Chidabhasa is expressed. In thought, also Chidabhasa is expressed. Please note it down or pay attention. It's a very, very important Vedantic concept. So, in Antakarana, Chidabhasa is expressed. In thought, Chidabhasa is expressed. So, means in thought, Vritti component, a thought component is there, plus Chidabhasa component is there. So, what Vritti part does, the thought part or Vritti part will remove the ignorance of pot. Clear? And Chidabhasa part will remove or will make the pot known to me or will be illumined to me. Clear? Two things are there. First, pot thought will remove the ignorance of pot, and the Chidabhasa portion will make the pot known or illumined to me. Clear? Suppose a shining lamp and you have covered it with a cloth, piece of cloth. The lamp is lighting and it is covered with a thick blanket, suppose, and it is placed in a thick dark room. Clear? So in a thick dark room, a lighting lamp is covered with a thick blanket. Suppose. So if I want to see the lamp, first, what we have to do? I have to remove the blanket first. Then the light is lighting. One thought process. Another thought process. In that way, you will also think, it's very interesting. Suppose a pot is placed, is just covered with a blanket in a dark room. So first, if I want to see the pot, two things are required. First, we have to remove the covering and we can sense it. So O means remove the ignorance of pot. Then, so it is called Vritti Vyapti. Please write it down. This is called Vritti Vyapti. That pot thought is there. That thought will remove the ignorance of pot. Second, I have to switch on the light to see it. Light is Chidabhasa, which will make me the knower of the pot. And then and there, Ahankar also gets illumined. And Ahankar's job is only one, claiming the ownership, that I am the knower. So the Chidavas illumined something else. This is called Fala Vyapti. This is called Fala Vyapti. First one was Vritti Vyapti. Second one is Fala Vyapti. So it's a concept. Vritti and Chidavasa go together. Please remember. Thought and reflected consciousness always go together. You can't separate them. In verse number 29, Swadipasya Anyadipecha, I think. Yatha Atma Prakashate. Can you remember that verse? Twenty-ninth sloka or verse told Swabodhe Nanya Bodhecha Bodha Rupa Tayatmanaha Na Deepasya Anya Deepecha Yatha Swatma Prakashane. With the reference of self-knowledge, or a lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. Likewise, Atma, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know itself. Okay. So, it is not like that in practical thing, in case of Atma, that first blanket will be removed, then light will be on, then the pot will be known to me. Everything happens in a one moment. Pot required Chidabhasa means pot is jada. It has no its own consciousness. That is why Chidabhasa is required. But Atma doesn't need Chidabhasa to reflect it. Because Atma is self-illumined, self-effulgent. Atma is Swaprakasa. First object comes in the form of thought. Then it gets cognized. Maybe it is gross or subtle. Like a dream is subtle, but it is jada, inert. So, every time we need Vritti Vyapti and Fala Vyapti. But to know Atma, Phala Vyapti is not required. To know Atma, Phala Vyapti is not required. To know Atma, only Vritti Vyapti is enough. And why Vritti Vyapti? Because without Vritti, no knowledge takes place. So to know Brahman, we need a Brahmakara Vritti. That Vritti will remove my ignorance about Brahman. And then that thought also goes off. Nashet jalam katakarenuvat. Vyapti means pervading. So we saw for Vritti Vyapti, mind is needed. For Vritti Vyapti, mind is needed. For Phala Vyapti, mind is not required because Chidabhasa is mind only. So to know Atma, mind is required till Vritti Vyapti. Atma is beyond mind, this is true. But who will tell me that? Mind will tell me. It means the Phala Vyapti part is not needed to know Atma. So Aruna means Bodha. Here Bodha means Vritti Vyapti. So when the ignorance about Atma gets dispelled, because I did not know what is Atma. Is it an eatable item? Or it's a cloth? Or it's an oil to put up on my head? So Bodha only removes the blanket on the lighted bulb. Atma is swaprakasha, self-effulgent. To know it, another bulb is not required. So manifest means appears, abhirbhava. Because the bulb was already lighting. Only it was covered by a thick blanket or ignorance. So now, if we transfer the word Atma as happiness, means I don't know that I am the source of joy or the supreme bliss. This is Atma, nothing else. So, study of Vedanta will make me know that I am that happiness. What are you looking for? That you are. That is the essence of Mahavakya, your great statement, that thou art, or Tattvamasi. It's a statement of fact. It doesn't mean that I listen that I am that happiness, then I am looking for. Actually, I have to gain it. It is already there. It is praptyasya prapti. Red apple. So there is no problem because it is already red. But if I don't understand it, if I start thinking that it is blue, then the problem. Shastra scripture says that that is how it is. Atma is already happiness and that is you. Shastra says you no need to go to find Atma. That is the job of the Shastra. So the thing is, ignorance is the thick pall of vasanas. We have to break through this darkness before we can get into the lit up, citadel of truth, the treasure house of the experience divine. Aruna, the dawn, heralds the sun. Soon after the early dawn, a very short time after the east has glowed with the golden hue of the dawn or Aruna, and thus dispelled the darkness of the night, we get the vision of the brilliant sun illumining the world. In the same way, when the egocentric existence in us that obstructs the vision of the self is falsified by constant and diligent meditation, the vision of the true self arises in all its glory. The vision of the self is obstructed by none other than our own mental agitations and egocentric vanities. Meditation quietens the thought flow and consequently the mind's extrovertedness. When a mind thus pacified and withdrawn from its outer activities turns inward, it springs forth to drown itself in the experience of the self and to become one with it. Hari Om Tat Sat.